What should we do if a planet-killer asteroid takes aim at Earth? It will be a reality one day, and it's not a matter of if, but when. If a giant object looks like it's going to slam into Earth, humanity has a few options. Hammer it with a spacecraft hard enough to knock it off its course, blast it with nuclear weapons, tug on it with a gravity tractor, or even slow it down using concentrated sunlight. In other words, hit it with rays, changing the heat on its surface, making it tumble on its axis. That's called the Yarkovsky effect. We've had to decide whether to visit with a scout mission first or launch a full-scale attack immediately. And we have a lot of scars on Earth showing us, and we have had tremendous asteroid impacts in the past, not only asteroids but comets. And the same thing on Mars, the same thing on moons. We have impact craters. Now, those are a lot of decisions for us to make under existential duress, which is why a team of MIT researchers have come up with a guide published February in the journal Acta Astronautica to help future asteroid deflectors. In movies, an incoming asteroid is usually a very last-minute shock, a big deadly rock hurtling towards Earth like a bullet out of the darkness, with only 2 weeks or days just between its discovery and its projected impact. That is a real threat, according to an April 2019 presentation of NASA's Office of Planetary Defense that Live Science attended. We know that. We did a video on that. And it was a failure. It was a tabletop drill, and it was a failure. It takes place every 2 years. Next year it'll take place somewhere in Switzerland, I believe. And up to now, they have been failures. So they still have no way of mitigating, stopping an asteroid impact if an asteroid will be coming towards our Earth. Now, NASA believes that it spotted most of the largest, deadliest objects that have even a small chance of striking Earth, the so-called planet killers. Of course, there are probably plenty of smaller rocks still large enough to damage whole cities, and that remain undiscovered. Because most of the large objects in Earth's neighborhood are already being closely watched, we'll likely have plenty of warnings before one strikes our Earth. Astronomers watch these space rocks as they get near Earth to see whether they're likely to cross through one of their keyholes, quote unquote. Every Earth-threatening asteroid gets closer and farther from Earth at different points in its orbit around the Sun. And along that path near Earth, it has keyholes. Those keyholes are regions of space that it has to pass through in order to end up on a collision course during its next approach to our planet. Quote, a keyhole is like a door. Once it's open, the asteroid will impact Earth soon after, with high probability, end quote. This is what Sung Wook Paik, lead author of the study and a Samsung engineer who was at MIT graduate student when the paper was written, said in a statement. The easiest time to stop an object from hitting Earth is before it hits one of those keyholes, according to the paper. That will keep the object from getting on the route towards an impact in the first place, at which point saving Earth would require far more resources and energy and involve much more risk. Pike and his co-authors tossed out most of the more exotic asteroid deflecting schemes out of hand, leaving only nuclear detonation and impactors as serious options. Nuclear detonation is problematic as well, they wrote, because it's uncertain exactly how an asteroid will behave after a nuclear explosion, and because political concerns about nuclear weapons could cause problems for the mission. In the end, they landed on 3 options for missions that could reasonably be prepared on short notice if a planet-killer asteroid were spotted heading towards a keyhole. A Type 0 mission, where a single heavy spacecraft was fired into the incoming object, aimed using the best available information about the object's makeup and trajectory to knock it off course. The Type 1 mission, where a scout is launched first and collects close-up data about the asteroid before the main impactor is launched, in order to better aim the shot for maximum effect. And a Type 2 mission, where one small impactor is launched at the same time as a scout to knock the object a bit off course. Then all the information from the scout and the first impact are used to fine-tune a second small impact that finishes the job. The problem with zero-type missions, the researcher said, is that telescopes on Earth can only gather rough information about planet killers which are still far away, dim, relatively small objects. Without precise information on the object's mass, velocity, or physical makeup, the impactor mission will have to rely on some imprecise estimates and has a higher risk of failing to properly knock the incoming object out of its keyhole. Type 1 missions are more likely to succeed, the researchers wrote, because they can determine the incoming rock's mass and velocity far more precisely, but they also take more time and resources. And Type 2 missions are even better, but take yet more time and resources to get underway. The researchers developed a method for calculating which mission is best based on two factors: the time between the mission start and the date the planet killer will reach its keyhole, and the difficulty involved in properly diverting the specific planet killer. Applying those calculations to two well-known planet killer asteroids in Earth's general neighborhood, Apophis and Bennu, we have asteroid missions going to them, the researchers came up with a complex set of instructions for further future asteroid deflectors in the event one of those objects started heading for a keyhole. Given enough time, they found Type 2 missions were almost always the right way to deflect Bennu. If time was short, though, a quick and dirty Type 0 mission was the way to go. There were just a handful of instances where Type 1 missions made sense. Apophis was a different, more complicated story. If time was short, Type 1 mission was usually the best option. Collect data quickly in order to properly aim the impact. Give more time, Type 2 missions were sometimes better, depending on how difficult it appears to be to deflect from its course. There were no situations where Type 0 mission made sense for Apophis. In both cases, if the time got too short, the researchers found no mission would be successful at diverting the rock, of course. You have no time to get anything up there. Now, the differences between the rocks came down to the level of uncertainty about their masses and velocities, as well as how their internal materials would react to an impact. These same basic principles could be used to study other potential planet killers, and future studies could incorporate other options for deflecting the asteroids, including nuclear weapons, the researchers wrote. The more complex the list of options, the more difficult the calculation gets. Eventually, they said, it would be useful to train machine learning algorithms to make decisions based on the exact available data in any planet killer scenario. This is by Rafti Letzer on Life Sciences on Bended Reality. This is the asteroid impact crater in Arizona, and all of you who have seen Starman with Jeff Bridges, if you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube somewhere. This is the asteroid impact crater in Arizona. You can see it's huge, and it's one of the most famous on Earth. Australia alone has 50 asteroid impact craters confirmed. And we also have impact craters in Quebec, the Manicouagan. That is actually, if you look at it, it's almost like a double impact, direct impact. You can see the circle is not slanted. It's as if it was a 90-degree impact site. And you can understand how terrible it must have been when all this was going on. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.